It is Monday, April 29th, 2024. This is another edition of Football Today. Those dudes are together again from the Talking Giants world. Bobby Skinner, Justin Penik. I am Chris Rose, some 2,752 miles away in beautiful Los Angeles, California. As the 2024 draft has officially wrapped up, and we figure, we usually come your way on Tuesday, but we wanted to go on a Monday since it's all done and here we are, boys. Do you watch like a ton of rounds 4 through 7 on a Saturday, or do you guys kind of just take it easy, Penny?
Do we watch a ton?
Brother, they watch us. We were live for the entire draft. We went 7.5 hours live on Saturday.
Oh my God.
We love it. Once we got to the 6th round, every evaluation I had done was just I could read it off. We had Dalton in with us. We had one of our other friends, the football grump.
Mm-hmm.
We were in it. And it started off with a boom. We got our guy in the 4th round, Theo Johnson for the Giants.
Oh, yes. I was thinking about you guys when that happened. I told you I loved him. I saw him in person walking through the hall at the Combine, and I could not believe the size of that behemoth.
Yeah, day 3 is where we thrive.
Okay.
I agree.
All right, good. Well,
how was your draft experience, Rose?
Did you say anything about us?
Yeah, I did not. I totally forgot. I whiffed on that. Sorry. That's my fault. You know why? I'll be honest with you.
We talked about you.
Well, that's sweet. That's sweet of you. We talked about the Giants in the pregame on Thursday, and I think that was it because we lumped them in with quarterback needy teams in the top half of the draft.
Mm-hmm.
So we started with them and Minnesota and Denver and the Raiders. And I don't think we really ever circled back much to the Giants after that.
They didn't really do anything flashy. They didn't trade. They also were the only team in the NFL to not take an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman.
Yeah, I saw that. Well, I do want to get into the Giants a little bit today. What we're going to do is we're going to rank our top 5 favorite draft classes, and we're allowed to take that any direction. However, here's my one stipulation.
Please.
No letter grades. Zero.
Thank you.
Okay, why do you believe that?
I was worried you were going to make us do that. Well, first things first, I don't know every single player.
Right, that's the issue.
So if I knew every single player, I might do that. And it's just like I just don't like doing the grade thing. I had to do it for the Giants on a video last year, and I did not like it.
Here's the thing: a lot of these draft classes are actually going to possibly be like C's or D's. But if you look on,
no one gets a D.
But if you look on like all the sites, nobody's giving any class a C or a D.
Okay.
Like the lowest you'll see is a B. It's like, a B means that probably 3 of these 6, 7, 8 players that you take are going to be good. And when in all actuality, if 3 players are good, that class is like an A.
Okay. Here's why I don't like draft classes, grading them the weekend after we're done. First of all, I understand why every copy editor in the history of a website wants you to do grades because we are all so thirsty for it. We want to, how'd we do? How'd my favorite team do this weekend? There's no such thing as grading a draft class until they have set foot on an NFL field for several years. You cannot do it. And I will take you back several years. I like The Ringer. I think The Ringer does a really nice job. There's some writers I like more than others, but they gave a grade for every first-round pick on the year that this came out. And they graded this one guy that has an incredible arm, and he's never afraid to use it. But when it comes to playing within the constructs of an offense and with his accuracy and decision-making, I just don't know. It's a huge risk. The fit was graded a B. The value of the pick was graded a C. Any guesses on who that was?
That's 100% Josh Allen.
Penik?
I'll go with Josh Allen.
That was a year earlier for Patrick Mahomes.
It was one of the two. I thought for sure.
Exactly.
I know I get the Josh Allen. I wasn't on Twitter as much, but Josh Allen, like the analysts hated him.
Mm-hmm.
I think Josh Allen, even more so than Patrick Mahomes, has like changed the scouting game a bit, where it's like, all right, big can run and throw hard. Like we will give you at least a shot of being good.
So that looks totally ridiculous. Here we are 7 years later, and we're talking about a guy who's a surefire Hall of Famer and who's going to end up somewhere in the discussion of the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the history of the sport. So that's why I don't like grading them. Now, I think as far as interesting draft classes, and once again, we can take this wherever we want. I think I'm probably going to have a very different thought process than the two of you. So, Bobby, you want to hit leadoff on this, or how do we want to do this?
Yeah, I can hit leadoff.
Okay,
and then we'll reveal.
We could just each say our list, and then we can talk about.
Fair enough.
It.
Fair.
So I just realized none of mine involved quarterbacks, right? But I obviously Chicago I wanted to put in there, but I don't like taking the punter. They just didn't have enough picks. But I did like Chicago's. Out of all the teams that got a quarterback, Chicago's was the one I liked the most. So I'll go 5 through 1. Number 5, I had the Detroit Lions. I love their T-shirts, positional villains. Number 4, I had the Philadelphia Eagles. Number 3, the Los Angeles Chargers. Number 2, the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then number 1, your neighbors, the Los Angeles Rams. So I'm an LA guy. Both LA teams were in my top 3.
Okay. Penik?
I had the Rams at number 5. I had the Eagles at number 4. I had the Commanders at number 3. I had the Steelers at number 2. And the Arizona Cardinals I had number 1.
Okay. Did you guys do it based on interest or best?
Best. I did best. Like one players that I think are good and where like I thought they like those players belong. Did they reach? Did they get them? Like so Justin picked the Arizona Cardinals. Did you say the Commanders too?
Commanders 3.
Or yeah, but as well, Commanders as well. I like those players in those drafts, but I also think like each player was probably a slot above where I would have taken. Obviously, there's exceptions in there.
And I'll defend that when we get there.
Adrian Taylor, Demerson in the 4th round, love that. Marvin Harrison obviously belonged where he went, and then Jaden Daniels with the Commanders. So we'll get into that. But what's yours?
So mine is not best. Mine is most interesting to watch moving forward.
Okay.
And I went Detroit 5. I went Cincinnati Bengals 4. I went the Green Bay Packers 3. I went Washington 2. And I went the Steelers 1.
Go through that again. I need to type it out because I'll forget.
Detroit 5.
Okay.
Bengals 4.
Bang.
Packers 3.
Packers.
Washington 2. And Steelers 1. Although I probably should have reversed those two at the top.
And Justin, go through yours very quickly.
I had the Rams 5, Eagles 4, Commanders 3, Steelers 2, and the Cardinals number 1.
So I think the Steelers are like cumulative number 1.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Wouldn't expect that going in.
Not necessarily. I think, in the mock drafts we did, we had them taking
like
wide receivers in the first, and they certainly did not do that.
Do you want to start off with the Steelers since we're just on them right now?
We might as well. I'm good with it.
Yeah,
I'm good with it. Their last 2 draft classes as a Browns fan has scared the hell out of me because I felt like they have done the best job of drafting for need, but also drafting excellent players going into the NFL that I think can project as very good NFL players. I mean, I will tell you this. Fatanu and Frazier, I don't know if they'll be Pro Bowlers. I don't know if they'll be great. I think they have a chance to be, particularly Fatanu, as long as he's healthy. But I know damn well that they are better than the players they're about to replace. In Dan Moore, who has been kind of spinning his tires there on the left side, and Herbig, who's going to be the center since they got rid of Mason Cole. So I definitely know that they're better.
Yeah, and it can turn a weakness into a strength if they work out. Like, obviously, we all like Troy Fontanu. Zach Frazier is a true blue center, so he's going to slide in there. And then with with drafting Broderick Jones last year at tackle, like now you have 3 highly drafted offensive linemen in the last 2 years. Obviously, you got to give them some time. So they took care of the trenches early. And then I thought they got guys who fell with the next two, like the next three picks, right? Roman Wilson.
I can't believe you fell that far.
I had Roman Wilson higher than Ladd McConkey.
McConkey.
I thought Roman Wilson was a better bet to go, in the top 40 than 80 than out of the top 80. Peyton Wilson, that one we could look back at and he didn't work out because of the injuries and there is some flaws to his game, but
there I'm fine with it. What is that? Late?
Yeah, that's a guy who's viewed as like a second rounder film wise going at 98. And then you get Mason McCormick, another guard who's he's gonna need some time, coming from South Dakota State.
Funny story about South Dakota.
Sucker punch Dallas Goedert. Yep. And then Logan Lee, the defensive tackle at Iowa, and then Ryan Watts, a corner. I don't know the corner out of Texas, right. But I'm looking at usually the top 4 rounds and some guys I might know on day 3. But
no, but I also love. top 120 picks in the draft. First 4 rounds, 3 out of the 5 picks are offensive linemen, and that's something that I love. I mean, obviously the Steelers, they need some offensive linemen, but I feel like, especially if you're a team that kind of needs it, you kind of need to be throwing darts at offensive linemen and hoping that you can hit. Rotunno has the positional versatility. I kind of like my centers being career centers. Yeah, hey, we're not going to ask this guard to play center or this tackle, he's going to move inside. No, get your career center from West Virginia, and you got him. And then Roman Wilson, to add him in the slot, I think he has inside-outside versatility too, but to kind of pencil him in the slot at least to start this season, where you already have I believe it's Van Jefferson, and then you have George Pickens. So I'm especially the top 3, and then Peyton Wilson adding that 4th to finish out their top 100. That's a very, very strong top 100 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That gets me very excited.
And I feel like they're building a nice foundation. I sound like I'm from Minnesota. We drafted a player from Minnesota. A foundation for when they can get into position for a quarterback, having the offensive line hopefully taken care of. You get a trustworthy wide receiver in Roman Wilson to go with George Pickens, who is obviously going to go win out, be a ball winner on the outside. I still think that wide receiver room could use an injection of life with somebody, but I feel like they're putting together a nice foundation for if and when they can get themselves a quarterback.
Rose, I don't want to go off on too much of a side tangent, but I'm all for this little soap opera that I'm building in my head right now. We may talk about the Chargers because I know one of you has the Chargers on your list. What do we think about Ladd McConkey not only over Roman Wilson, but Ladd McConkey going to the Chargers? If I'm Roman Wilson, I'm kind of sitting there thinking that's a slap in the face to me as a former Michigan player. Right? Are you buying into that?
I don't know. I mean, listen, Joe Ortiz does have some say in that draft room with the Chargers. I mean, Jim Harbaugh isn't Bill Belichick. Like, he's just picking everybody, and I'll see a training camp. I don't think that's the entire thing here. Let me just finish up a thought on the Steelers.
Yeah.
I thought the Mason McCormick pick was great. This guy who started almost 60 games in his college career, which, by the way, dates back to 2018. That's how long he's been in college.
Okay, so, when are we going to cycle out all the COVID classes?
I think it's this year.
This was the last year.
It's exhausting.
I think this was the last year. Yeah, it is. It is a little. Roman Wilson, by the way, what was the last Steelers receiver who wasn't a total nutbag walked into that room as a high draft pick? Like, he brings some maturity to their room. I think that'll be nice for them. And the Peyton Wilson thing, our Ian Rappaport, he reported on our show that Peyton Wilson might only be a one-contract guy. Well, you know what? He's the Steelers' 4th pick in this draft.
Yeah.
Great. Give me the best 4 years of your career, and we'll deal with it. I mean, this is a franchise that hasn't won a playoff game in, 6 or 7 years? Like, they got to get going again.
Yeah, I mean, they took him with a comp pick. So, that's where, I feel like you take a swing on that type of player who's got the injuries. But his film is so good.
Yep.
And then you pair him there with Patrick McQueen, and then you have the edge rushers and the guys in the middle. I just feel like I don't look at the Steelers roster and I'm like, man, that's fantastic. But just like they're putting together a solid roster, and if they can get figure out a great wide receiver and get a quarterback in there, you've got a nice little piece. I mean, you got Joey Porter Jr. I think he can have a nice year too.
Still got Minka.
Minka Fitzpatrick is still there. So
TJ Watt.
They are They are not a contender this year, obviously, but I felt like they will look back and like this draft.
Well, you guys just hate their quarterback room. Man, I'm not as down on that quarterback room as you guys are.
I don't hate it. I hate the possible situation. I don't hate it if Arthur Smith is we're getting back to efficient days and we're doing some good things. That I don't hate it as maybe I don't know if we hate it, Rose. I don't know if we hate it.
All right, well, we'll see.
I kind of hate it.
I just like it that Roman Wilson will be the next weapon that Arthur Smith totally ignores. You guys both had the Rams in your list. One of you had them 5. Penik, you had them 5. Bobby, you have them 1. What do you like most about that draft class?
So I think they just got guys who are going to come and play for them right away as they're trying to get the most out of Matthew Stafford as his career winds down. Now, they did give up a good amount. The one pick I didn't like was the Braden Fisk.
Mm-hmm.
Not that he went at pick 39, but that they traded a second-round pick next year for Braden Fisk. Even then, that is a slightly rich pick for me there. But Jared Verse, who I thought was the edge one, getting him at 19, just having him fall into your laps, that's awesome. And then pairing him with his teammate Braden Fisk, and now you have Kobe Turner, and then what's the Byron Young, the edge they got. They've got a nice young defensive front that they can build around whenever whenever it does end. Blake Corum, who I thought was the second best running back in the class, he's going to be a great 1-2 punch with Kyron Williams. And then Cam Kinchens. I love Cam Kinchens. He was my favorite safety in the class, and I know that the Los Angeles Rams are going to use him to the best of his abilities to where I think he can be like a multi-interception, rookie season for them. He had 11 interceptions in his last 22 college football games. And then I don't know all the guys in their day 3, but Bo Limmer, the center out of Arkansas,
the biggest steal of day 3.
That's who we were like
that we will ever see.
We were calling. I had a late third on him, and we were calling for him to go. All of day 3. Like, when's Bo Limmer going to go?
It became a running joke on our draft stream that just basically from the 5th round on, it was like, all right, when's Bo Limmer going to go? When's Bo Limmer going to go? And he just never went. So that caps it off for me.
Yeah. So again, Tyler Davis, I thought did some decent things at Senior Bowl. I don't know him. I don't know Brennan Jackson to give a full on him, but their first 4 picks are going to come in, and Blake Corum may not start technically, but he's going to get a ton of carries. They're going to come in and be contributors day 1.
Yep.
Okay. For a team that's competing in the NFC.
Mm-hmm. They needed names on that defense. Right, you look at the offense. They have the studs at skill position. They have the studs at receiver. Matt Stafford had a resurgent year, because of how good those guys still are. And then you kind of just looked at that defense, especially Aaron Donald kind of carried that front 4 last year. I think Byron Young and Colby Turner possibly don't have as good of rookie seasons, even though it was impressive in its own right. Aaron Donald is demanding more attention than anybody in the NFL. So now that he's gone, you do need to. You can't replace him, but you gotta add names to that defense, and they were able to do that this draft, especially with Jared Verse, who we view as edge 1. Chris Rose does not, but Bobby and I do.
And I love their free agency to go with it too, to where I think if we were picking who's going to come out of the NFC, the Rams are I have to consider them.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I was a little surprised they didn't go corner. I think they're taking a big leap that they brought back Williams, had been bouncing around a little bit in recent times through free agency. And Tre'Davious White, we don't know what we're looking at now after a second major injury, right? I mean, the name is awesome. Guy is great. I just don't know what he plays, how he plays. So we'll see. So I was a little surprised maybe they didn't address corner, but they know much more than we do. Let me focus on one of my teams for a little bit because I did it based on interesting draft class. And one of them I had was the Cincinnati Bengals because I think they could be, of the teams that did not draft a quarterback, the most boom-bust class around, right? Amarius Mims had 8 starts. And boy, do they have a prototype at tackle, right? If you're not 6'8", please don't drop your resume off because you cannot play for us.
They told their first round pick, Jonah Williams, get the hell out of here, go to Arizona.
Right, you're too little for us. Chris Jenkins is a guy, I know he's a 2-time captain up there. Everybody I talked to said, I always expected to see more out of him on tape. Like, why isn't he more productive? Why doesn't he put up better numbers and stuff like that? So I think he's a really good player. I had no problem with him going where he did whatsoever. I just think we expect more. And I think the same could be said for Jermaine Burton, who's a guy who's jumped around from arguably the two most decorated college programs that we've got going in Georgia and Alabama. And all you ever hear is, well, he's got to be more mature and he's got to do this. And he does have 23 touchdowns in his college career. So
he's one of the more intriguing players in this class. And this fit, like, Chris, you're using the word interesting. This fit with the Bengals is extremely interesting. 100%.
Oh, totally. And then they got two tight ends who, there were people who thought maybe Brock Bowers would slide all the way to 18 and be the perfect fit for Joe Burrow. They've got Eric All, who's coming off not only a torn ACL last season, but had major spinal surgery, and part of the reason he left Michigan to go play at Iowa. And this Tanner McLaughlin out of the University of Arizona, who had more career catches than Gronk as a tight end there. So, once again, I'll just call the Bengals draft class fascinating.
Yeah. I don't know Tanner McLaughlin, but Eric All, like you said, with the injuries, he is a fun player to watch and has a speed. And it seems like the Cincinnati Bengals have a type with their tight ends, like be fast, don't block, or just run, and Joe Burrow's gonna elevate who you are as a player. I like Matt Lee, the center out of Miami, biasly in the 7th round. But yeah, like you said, those are three big swings with those first 3 picks. You said 8-game starter for Amarius Mims, Chris Jenkins, little undersized, he's a fun player to watch, and then Jermaine Burton, who by all accounts is like kind of a lunatic, like going at fans and stuff like that. So hopefully they could keep him in control. But there's no doubt that he's an extreme. I mean, he would have been a high 2nd round pick if he was not a lunatic.
Well, I mean, did you hear Saban on the ESPN broadcast?
I did not.
About him. He was talking about the difference between maturing as a player and immaturity elsewhere in your game, stuff like that. I mean, he would, they were basically talking about this kid, and he was really interesting on it. I mean, but that's the difference.
Was he negative on him? Was he negative on him without actually being flat out negative on him?
I think he was talking about the risks of taking a kid like this.
Okay.
But that's what this whole thing is about, right? We see these kids every Saturday, and because they're so much more athletically gifted than some of the players they're going against, it oozes. But you get to that next level, and dude, the difference between your talent and the guy you're lining up across is like that. And so if you don't have it between your ears or you don't have it inside your chest, it's over. It's why so many good players fall by the wayside so quickly. Yep. It really is incredible.
Now that we're on this subject, what did you think about the same team that drafted Isaiah Wilson, who never started a game for them and was drafting Tavondre Sweat in the top of the 2nd round?
I am shocked based on where Rand Carthen comes from in San Francisco that's the way they're going. I mean, they are just swinging for the fences with I know you guys weren't shocked to see Sweat go early in the 2nd. I almost fell out of my chair when he went that early.
Player wise, I wasn't shocked. I wasn't shocked. But yeah, so he was. Everything had said he's projected to go like I thought somebody would take a swing on him in the 3rd round, right? They would, we did our Giants mock draft, and I put him in my 4th round pick. I was like, yes, I understand all the issues, but you know what? I don't need my 380-pound defensive tackle 2-gapper to be the biggest film nerd, and he can go out and party a little bit on the weekends. I don't need him being the top tier shape. I have a very specific job for him, but the top of the 2nd is crazy and he's a limited player. He gives you 0 pass rush value.
Right.
Anyways, he's a valuable but limited player.
I don't know. I wouldn't have done it. And by the way, I think J.C. Latham's a little bit of a.
Yeah, I didn't like that over Olu.
I mean, he is a right tackle that they want to move to left tackle, and I get it that in you've got arguably the best offensive line coach in Bill Callahan.
But I mean, Jedrick Wills didn't progress after his rookie year under Bill Callahan.
That's the thing
either.
Is that he's kind of 0 for his last one in that department. So I don't know, man. I don't know what the Titans are doing. I have no idea. 0. Penik, what, you have one of your classes you want to focus on here?
Yeah,
let's talk a little Washington. Let's do a little Washington because I've got them too.
Let's go to the Commanders. Left hand up. Who are we?
The Commanders.
I'll just go through it really quick. We have Jaden Daniels at 2, Johnny Newton at 36. I love that.
That one's the best one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mike Sainristil, Michigan cornerback. Ben Sinnott, 53. Third round pick, 67. Brandon Coleman, tackle from TCU. Luke McCaffrey, 100th pick of the draft, third round, wide receiver. Fifth round, 139, Jordan McGee from Temple. Fifth round, 161, Dominique Hampton from Washington. And then seventh round, 222nd pick, edge rusher Javonte Jean-Baptiste, Notre Dame. Bergen Catholic, local kid, at least here in the tri-state
Rose,
area.
have you noticed that New Jersey people have a lot of Catholic high school pride?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I tend to notice that. Yeah.
Producer Rob is from Bergen Catholic. Chris Rose is other
they
producer.
all know what high schools they went to.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you. The rest of us in the other 49 states do not give a shit. So.
Yeah, it's like we might talk about high school. I guess we talk a little bit high school.
Ayira Sante, St. Peter's Prep. Minka Fitzpatrick, St. Peter's Prep.
What high school did you go to, Bobby?
Yeah.
Florida Air Academy.
Who was the most famous athlete you participated against growing up?
Oh, against?
Mm-hmm. Or with? Either one.
I'd say Blake Bortles. He was my quarterback in my All-Star game.
Good. Okay, that's fun.
Yeah, I'm sure there was other people in that All-Star game that I didn't know their names, but Blake Bortles was the one that stuck out. Prince Fielder went to my high school.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Penik, how about you?
Tim Wakefield. Actually, no, he's
love
from the city. He didn't go to the same school as me. I'm wrong.
Rest in peace.
Minka Fitzpatrick. I went to St. Peter's Prep.
With him?
Yeah.
You guys were there at the same time?
Yep.
So you'd be rolling through the halls. He'd be like, hey, Penik, what's up?
Nope, not at all.
Not at all. Okay. I went to the high school that produced Jason Garrett.
All right, we're
What
done.
are you laughing at?
You're out.
Well, at least you're not my least favorite person from that high school.
Well, but here's the thing. We are a very small private boys' school. I graduated with 88 kids in my class.
Wow.
So the fact that we had a guy actually make the NFL, play 16 years, and then coach in the NFL is
Was he
pretty
nice?
remarkable. He's great. He's known me. So he's a year older than my closest in age brother. And so I used to go to all the basketball practices where my brother was a manager for the team and Jason played on the. So he's known me since I'm like 11. So interesting, always covering the NFL level. But I got a better one. Do you remember the name O.J. McDuffie?
I thought you were going a different way with that one. No, I don't.
O.J. McDuffie was a first-round pick of the Dolphins in '93, I believe.
I forgot about
Went to
him.
Penn State. We played against him. He was our arch rival at Hawken. Incredible athlete. Football, basketball, and then in the spring in baseball, he would be the DH, and they would schedule track meets, and in between at bats, he would change out of his baseball uniform, go run, kick some ass on the track, and then come back and hit a ball 450 feet. I always loved stories like that. Anyway, the Washington Commanders.
Who
Penik?
are we?
Yeah, man. Johnny Newton I view as a first-round player. Sandra still is going to be a baller. Talked about him a lot. Even here, we think we took him in our second-round mock draft. He's a slot corner, but I think he's just going to be a really good ball player. People rave about him at Michigan. Ben Sinnott, definitely the player that was taken higher than he should have been. But here's my little pitch, and this is going to be my pitch with the Cardinals draft too. Mm-hmm. We're going to look back at NFL drafts 3, 4, 5 years from now and say, okay, did this team have a good draft? Did that team have a good draft? And you're not going to say, oh, man, they really reached on that player. You're going to say, are they a good football player or are they a bad football player? You may remember some individual reaches, but you're not going to remember if the 53rd pick, Ben Sinnott from Kansas State, was a reach or not. You're going to look at him, you're going to say, is he a good player or is he a bad player? And I look at Ben Sinnott, regardless of where he's drafted, is Ben Sinnott is going to be a good football player in the NFL. So that was a favorite pick of mine too. Definitely a little high, like I said, but I like the player. Brandon Coleman, I know Bobby, I think you like him too. So definitely that run of their top 100 picks. Luke McCaffrey, I may be a little indifferent on, but that run of top 100 picks, I absolutely love.
So here's why I like the Commanders class but don't love it. Ben Sinnott is part of it. Mike Sainristil, that's where he belongs. But I still do have worries about him. Love the Johnny Newton pick, right? That is who probably most fan bases were hoping their team would get when he fell to the second round. I kind of really just don't like Jaden Daniels over Drake May. Like that's a pretty big deal to me.
Sure, it's the biggest deal.
You know, like
big deal. It's
like
the biggest
just
deal.
because he's been slated there for some reason we haven't talked about it. But like, to me, Drake May's he's clearly the better prospect than Jaden Daniels. Now Jaden Daniels is going to a better situation than New England than Drake May. That's for sure.
By the way, how fucked up is that? Like, if you had said that 2 years ago, you're like,
I know.
Yeah, I mean, Jaden Daniels is going to a way better situation in Washington than Drake May in New England. You'd be like,
Crazy.
Wait, what? Sorry, I'm going to have to change listening to podcasts because this one doesn't know what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah, and it's not by a lot, right? Like, I'm not saying Washington's a good situation, but I just think the Patriots are a really bad situation. Yeah. But I did like some of the picks they made, Javon Baker. And then Luke McCaffrey at pick 100. It's just the Jaden Daniels over Drake May weighs heavy on me. But the Johnny Newton pick, I don't understand how that guy fell out of the first round. Like, is there medical concerns on him? Because his film is
nobody said anything.
His film is nuts. Like I like him more than I like Byron Murphy.
Wow. Okay. And
That's
Murphy
strong.
ended up going 16th overall to Seattle.
Yeah, and I love Byron Murphy. It's not a knock on him. I just viewed Johnny Newton to me was he was a late watch for me. I think I had him as like the 8th or 9th best player in the draft.
Kind of got shades of Kalijah. Like when we got excited watching Kalijah Kancey last year, I got a very similar level of excitement with Johnny Newton.
Yeah, I'm shocked. I'm shocked. I was shocked that he didn't go Thursday night, and then, well, in part because Washington, they've got two highly paid studs up there, right? And
but that's why I love that pick. They didn't let that shit get in the way. They didn't let that get in the way.
I'm with you 100%. And by the way, if he outplays like one of those guys and they move it, I don't know what their contract status is in terms of guaranteed money after this year and all that sort of stuff. But isn't it interesting that they went with so many so many defensive linemen in a multi-year run where they got these two guys in Allen and Payne, I think in back-to-back first rounds or something, and then you had Sweat and Chase Young. And it's the defensive tackles that end up sticking around, and it's the edge rushers who get bounced for trade pieces. Mm-hmm. I love this class, too. I think that between kind of what they did in free agency, I think Washington's going to be a fun watch, and they have been god-awful for years. I still think they're 4th going into the year, but I don't think the gap between 1 and 4 is nearly as significant as it has been.
Yeah. It depends on how you feel about Jaden Daniels, because if you think he even has a solid rookie season, you would put him above the New York Giants right now.
Right.
But if you think he's going to have a rough rookie season, then they're the number 4 team in the NFC East.
Now, I just looked on our lads, a good resource just to see what a team's depth chart's looking like. They have Brandon Coleman slotted in as left tackle number 1 right now.
They got O-line issues.
They do.
So, they added Biotish, who I don't love. They added another guard from Kansas City as well. So they're going to have like three new starters on that offensive line this year, as of right now, projected. So they took a lot of sacks. Now, Sam Howell had a take sack problem, but Jaden Daniels, I also feel like could have a take sack problem in the NFL too. So they allowed the most sacks in the NFL last year. So still some questions on that offensive line. But like you said, Chris, I think at least that they're going to be more. They put up a lot of yards and they put up some points at times last year, but they were kind of a bad watch last year. Where I think they're going to be a little bit of a better watch this year.
It just depends on how Jaden Daniels is going to deal with pressure.
Yeah,
because he didn't have any of it at LSU. He's going to have good, solid weapons around him, so that won't be it. It's just how can he handle pressure?
Are you going to take a lot of sacks and then end drives, or are you going to be able to kind of stay on schedule?
Or have 900 rushing yards? Because you're able to escape those. That's a very possible thing for Jaden Daniels too.
Is there anything that Kingsbury can help him with in that manner and getting it out quick and all that sort of stuff?
Quick little.
I think he can.
Quick. He has Terry McLaurin there. Let him go work on the sideline. Make him the alert on a lot of throws.
Which we know Kingsbury does that.
Yeah, if you remember DeAndre Hopkins at the beginning of Arizona, you go look at his next gen chart, and everything is outside the numbers on the left side of the field.
And we know Daniels has that quick release. I think it's better than May. where the quick release and everything just comes out so smooth. There's such a little wasted movement. So there's a path. There's a path.
Yeah. Let's see. Bobby, you had the Chargers 3, and I definitely wanted to talk about them. I didn't have them. I mean, I could have put them in the top 5 in terms of just interesting. I probably should have retrospectively, but let's go for it. I think they're fun chat.
Yeah, I mean, you get Joe Alt, the tackle at pick 5. They are serious about making that offensive line good. So now you have Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater as your tackles. Ladd McConkey, now that I'm looking at him like,
I don't know,
maybe
man.
I wouldn't put him top 5, but I just think they got guys who are going to help them. Ladd McConkey is going to be a big piece of that offense, I think, year one, giving Justin Herbert that. Junior Colson is going to be their starting linebacker from day one.
Stud.
Justin, I don't know him.
He was at the Senior Bowl.
He
was all right.
Cam Hart, he's a long, corner who can actually play some ball. They'll use him. Kamani Vidal. And they're going to have Jerry Rice at all their practices with the pick of Brendan Rice.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that's going to happen. Not sure Jim's going to allow that one.
I think he did it to get Jerry Rice out to the practices.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see. Jerry likes Jerry a lot. So do you think that they have a specific type in mind when they were drafting? Everybody but Kamani Vidal played not only at a major, major university, but, I mean, we're talking SEC, we're talking Big Ten, we're talking Pac-12, and then Notre Dame. 2 guys from Notre Dame. Like, you think he wants guys where the light's been shining on you a while?
Yeah, I don't think they have these big swings of players, right? Like Ladd McConkey and Junior Colson are both players who will be good in the NFL, but neither one will be great ever.
I think Junior Colson's really good.
I think he's very disciplined. I don't think he has a high ceiling.
Athleticism puts a cap on it a little bit, but don't overthink a good football player.
Yeah, Kamani Vidal, we really like. Cam Hart was somebody I wanted the Giants to go after if
good
he
value.
was available on day 3.
Cam Hart's best value. I think.
They got him at pick 140. So they got him. I don't know how many the comp picks are out of control. I don't know how many comp picks are, but that's basically a 5th round pick there, who a lot of people viewed as a 3rd rounder.
Yeah, they're going to be fun. I don't know where they rank right now.
Looking at it, I'm like, maybe I don't like this class as much as I had thought. I'm really excited for Jim Harbaugh.
Still concerned about their receivers. They're going to run the damn ball, man. They're going to run the damn ball.
Dude, they have Justin
Herbert.
I was going to say they have a quarterback who has elevated even when those Keenan Allen have gone down, you see what's Tyler Guyton or what? Not Tyler Guyton. That's the tackle for the Cowboys. What's the Guyton's guy having 80-yard catches and Trey Palmer being productive. So I think they'll be able to survive 1 year without having the great.
They're still going to run the damn ball though.
Oh yeah, they're going to run it 55% of the time probably.
All right, before we get back to the show, let's talk about DraftKings, baseball fans. Unfortunately, the action for football has just ended. So you know what? Get back into baseball. It's time to make your way to the park and cheer on your favorite team. And if you're watching from home, there's still ways to feel the energy. We've partnered with DraftKings, and right now, all new customers bet just $5 will get $200 in bonus bets instantly. So download the DraftKings app right now using promo code Football Today. That's all one word. Football Today. Did you know there's 2 L's in football? Stay in on the action and use your $200 in bonus bets on DraftKings same game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout and combine multiple bets together from the same game, like total runs scored and home runs hit by a certain player. The more bets you combine, the more you can win. I like calling them octopuses. The more legs you add, the more fun you have. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use promo code Football Today. Bet just $5 on any wager and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code Football Today. All one word, only at the DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. You'll be glad you did, and you'll be glad you keep listening to Football Today on JM Football. Back to the show.
You had Arizona Penik at 1.
Yes. Yes, I did. Let's go through the Arizona Cardinals draft class, shall we? It starts off with, as we know, Marvin Harrison Jr., and I'm buying time as I pull them up on my computer. It starts off with Marvin Harrison Jr. from Ohio State, and then we go to, I don't know. I don't even know if I'm going to read all these because there's 11 of them.
You don't need to read all of them.
I'll tell you.
Read your favorite.
I'll tell you my favorites because there's
rank your favorites.
There's multiple favorites. Marvin Harrison Jr. Fourth, number 1, Darius Robinson. I like him. We kind of split a little bit, Bobby and I, on Darius Robinson, but I think he has size and strength, and I actually like him better as playing like this tweener interior defensive lineman versus if he were to just be an edge rusher. Max Melton, one of those. Now we get to the territory. This was even with Darius Robinson too. Darius Robinson, Max Melton, Trey Benson, Isaiah Adams. There's a run of 4 players there where it's like maybe they're reaches. Right? But again, you look 3-4 years from now, you're going to evaluate a draft class not on if they're a reach, but are they a good football player or a bad football player? I think Max Melton's going to be a really good football player.
I do too.
I think we're going back to the Greg Schiano days of, you know what? Want to know why New England drafted so many Rutgers players a long time ago when Schiano was the coach? Because they're good football players who work hard and they're smart, tough, dependable. Use a Joe Shane phrase there too. So I view like Max Melton in the same light as the McCourty brothers and even a Logan Ryan. Like I think he could have that type of career. Trey Benson from Florida State, one of the most explosive running backs from this draft class. Contact balance, explosivity. Isaiah Adams is a guy that has versatility. Look at his 2022 tape where he's playing guard. Had an awesome Senior Bowl. Great hands. Needs to develop a little bit more strength. So that run of top 100 picks, they also have Tip Raymond from Illinois, Elijah Jones, but DTD, D'Adrian Taylor Demerson from Texas Tech, one of my favorite safeties in this entire draft class. Oh, yeah, plus they get Christian Jones on day 3, too, an athletic tackle from Texas. So, yeah, I kind of went with some teams that had a lot of draft picks, but I really loved, like this is my number 1, loved this Arizona Cardinals draft class, and it wasn't just because of Marvin Harrison Jr. at 4.
Yeah, I think that's all fair. The kid, Tip Ryman, is really, really interesting. He had 41 career catches, but he is a behemoth. He is almost 6'5" and 271 pounds. So you pair him with Trey McBride out there and could have some fun.
Sounds like we're going to be blocking.
Yeah, and then Christian Jones, I love that as a 5th rounder. I mean, this is a guy who had a ton of starts in college. On a highly decorated offense. So, that's one of those pieces where in a couple years, you're like, oh, okay, what round did they get him in?
Yeah,
2nd?
5th round?
Like 5. No, wow, okay, great. So good for them, good for Monty Austin-Fort. And he said what? That he was open for business with a big flashing neon sign. And he pretty much, I think, stayed where he was, didn't he?
He did, and that was my whole point for the draft is they didn't need to be. They 100% did not need to be. It just named you all those names. We didn't even talk about like 3 or 4 of those picks. They didn't need to be, man. Like they had all these picks. Like it's time to develop the roster a little bit. And I think this draft has the potential to. Did they reach on some of these guys? Yeah. Like, if my Giants took Isaiah Adams at 70, I'd be happy, but I'd be like, I don't know. Maybe could have waited. But again, you're not going to be looking at that a couple years from now. If these guys wind up being good players, if they can even get 3 of these guys to be starters 4 years from now, I think you're going to say, wow, that was a pretty decent draft class.
Mm-hmm. My thing with it is, one, well, you may say, oh, they may end up being decent players. What happens when we go back and look at the fact that Darius Robinson was picked over Johnny Newton?
Fair.
What happens when I like Max Melton? A lot of other second-round picks that I like a lot more than Max Melton. Trey Benson, I think, is a good running back pick.
Isaiah Adams picked over Christian Haynes.
Isaiah Adams over Christian Haynes. I think even over Cooper Beebe, too.
Yep.
Right? Like, I disagree with that pretty strongly. Tip Ryman over some of the other tight ends. I disagree with that one. D'Adrian Taylor Demerson. Love that pick. Love Christian Jones. So, like, I like, and then getting Marvin Harrison Jr., that's awesome. But it doesn't take, the best team in the world to take Marvin Harrison Jr. at pick 4. Right. So, I like the
players.
I feel like I'm going to go back and look at this draft and be like, look at the players that are behind them, and it's not, and it won't be just revisionist history takes, because you could do that with every team every year. Like looking at, there's always like Fred Warner. We could go back and look at, how this team passed upon Fred Warner. I felt like there were obvious better players at a lot of those picks,
and that's fair.
Well, I do think that the Darius Robinson one is the most interesting because my guess is part of the reason they took him was because they could pop him outside or inside, right?
And we know the Cardinals are great with guys who don't have a set position.
All right.
Hassan Reddick, Isaiah Simmons.
I think this is the one that's most controversial. Where I saw Mel Kiper give the Cardinals an A.
Zayden Collins.
Saw Mel Kiper give the Cardinals an A, but then I've also seen some other, like Warren Sharp put out a graph, and I really don't like it because it's really sided toward teams that had a lot of day 3 picks. That if this team that had day 3 picks just took a lot of media consensus guys that just fell, they view that as good value, and I don't think that's necessarily always the case.
What did you think of Tejuan Palmer? Because you watched him, I didn't. For the Cardinals.
Day 3, man, a big receiver that can move, that can run, that can maybe make some contested catches. Yeah. He could even have special teams value day 1. Like, I don't know. Like, that's a day 3 pick that I'm not minding. Athlete. Traits. That's what you invest in.
Where do we want to go next?
I think we should go to the Eagles, right?
Yeah, you guys both had the Eagles.
Can I read you the activity? This is going to take a while, and this is meant to take a second. I wanted to see just the Eagles draft picks, but then also I'm like, I think they traded a little bit. I wanted to see all the activity that they had. Ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
First round, 22nd overall, Quinyon Mitchell. Second round, number 40, Cooper DeJean. Second round, I say Cooper DeJean. I'm French.
Yeah, we're not French.
Second round, number 50, from New Orleans. They traded that to Washington. Second round, 53 overall. Traded that to Washington. Third round, number 78 overall, from Washington. They traded that to Houston. Third round, number 86 overall, from Houston. They traded that to the 49ers. Then they finally took Jalix Hunt, offensive linebacker from Houston Christian. Never heard of that school. Fourth round, number 20 overall, from Pittsburgh. They traded that to Miami. Fourth round, number 123 overall from Houston. They traded that to Houston. What? That makes no sense. They traded it to Houston on Saturday, so Houston got their pick back. Fourth round, number 127 from Houston. They took Will Shipley. Fourth round, number 132 overall from San Fran. They traded it to Detroit. Fifth round, they took Anaya Smith. Fifth round, Trotter, pick 155. Or they took Trotter, pick 155. Fifth round, number 161 overall. They traded to Washington. Fifth round, 164 overall. They traded to Indy. Fifth round, comp pick. They traded that to the Jets. And then there's literally 5 more things. They made 2 more trades, and they took Trevor Keegan, Johnny Wilson, and Dillick McMahon. That was all of the activity that they did. That was meant to be long. That was meant to be boring, and it was meant to be confusing because it is.
Well, mission accomplished. Well done.
What was
what did they do on Saturday again?
So the first 2 picks for the Eagles are obviously great. Like Quinyon Mitchell, the best corner in the draft. That's one of their biggest needs. You get it. Cooper DeJean, he's a safety, and it's not just because he looks like us. It's because he lacks change of direction. But they need safety desperately, and he's in a team that can put him at safety. I'll be honest, I'm not familiar with Jalix Hunt, the edge guy, but
his story is pretty phenomenal. But go ahead.
Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Now, I'm doubting myself because I like Jeremiah Trotter Jr., but a lot of people who I respect just don't think he has it. But I watch his film, and I really like it. And so getting him there, I think that's a shot.
It's a 5th rounder.
Johnny Wilson sounds good, not going to work. And then Will Shipley is a fun back. I don't know how much playing time he'll ever get, but he can give you some third down stuff. But you have Saquon, so he's going to not get off the field very often. So, but those first 2 picks are phenomenal.
Jalix Hunt is, for people that aren't familiar with his story, he started out in the Ivy League. He went to Cornell and went there as a safety, basically a 200-pound safety. And he enters the NFL as a 252-pound edge rusher. I don't know how in the world you go from Ithaca, New York to Houston Christian.
Shout out Danny King.
But congratulations on that.
And you know what's going to be great about that?
Danny King just went from Ithaca to TMZ.
The path. Amazing paths. You know what's going to
They have a safety, Derek Sloika. He's got to work out with the 49ers and the Chiefs. They're pretty good.
Good luck. Good luck to you. One of the crazy thing about
Rose
Hunt
has no idea what we're talking about.
The crazy thing about Hunt is crazy thing about him is that he's probably not even gonna have to play for the first 2 years, and he's just gonna be like he'll be maybe like a special teams merchant, and because the Eagles just have so much depth at edge, they have so much depth on that D line that all right, we'll go ahead and develop. Go ahead, get coached, get stronger, get whatever. Get better at the game of football. Don't worry about the opponent. Don't worry about this. Be a good special teams guy for us, and we'll see you in 2 years if you work out or not.
Anaya Smith is like the key in this because they desperately need slot wide receiver.
Yep.
And he can hopefully for them be that.
I think he's their starter right now at slot receiver. He may.
It's interesting. Yeah, the Eagles definitely need help. They were 31st in completions allowed, passing yards allowed, and touchdown to interception ratio a season ago.
And my talking point with Philly is their biggest upgrade of the offseason was adding Vic Fangio. But they also need guys. Like I know James Bradbury had a really bad year too with Philly. I haven't given up on him.
No.
Darius Slay, I think, has always been someone who's been up and down kind of his whole career. But
Right.
He's not a slouch.
Both in their 30s.
Yeah. But I think Fangio can he's got some talent to work with on that defensive side of the ball.
Well, they better be better because they were horrific. They were horrific for some time. Horrific. All right. There's 2 questions I want to get to before maybe one. Bigger surprise that the Dallas Cowboys did not draft a running back or that the Raiders didn't draft a quarterback.
I'm surprised the Raiders didn't take a swing on Spencer Rattler.
Me too.
Like they got screwed out of the first round, but I thought that they would take a swing on it. But I kind of liked the Raiders draft. I thought they were not nearsighted or whatever. Whatever. I don't know how that glasses work, but I thought they did their draft like planning for the long term, where Raiders teams in the past would be very Brock Bowers. You know who like the player comp is for Brock Bowers? Who he is, but no one ever says because
whisper it.
Aaron Hernandez. But you get him with Michael Mayer. That's a nice little 2 tight end duo. Jackson Powers Johnson, and Delmar Glaze, taking care of like some guy the trenches after they lost a couple guys. So I thought they didn't try and get all the guys who could go in there and be a win now team. I thought there was some long-term planning in their draft that I liked from the Raiders.
Yeah, but you didn't answer the question fully.
The Raiders not taking a swing at Spencer Rattler or Michael Pratt or whoever.
Okay.
Because that guy, I mean, they could.
What about that?
There's a good chance that guy would have started at some point.
Rattler was taken at pick 150.
Yeah.
And
longest QB drought we ever had.
Right.
And the Raiders had pick 148, and they took Tommy Eichenberg out of Ohio State instead.
Yep.
Who I would have been really. I mean, I even love the Spencer Rattler fit with New Orleans. Like hell yeah. Like you don't know Derek Carr's not looking too hot, and he doesn't have a long contract, so why not? Why not? Carr also gets hurt. You know what? I'll entertain it. I am a little shocked that the Cowboys did not take a running back. Even if it's just this, they've been taking some swings on some day 3 guys. I do like the top 3 of their draft: Tyler Guyton, Marshawn Nealon, and Cooper Beebe. They have back end. They traded back in the first round, so I trust their O-line evaluations for sure. But I am a little surprised that they didn't go running back because they continue to put investments in both sides of the ball in terms of their offensive line and defensive line. But Rico Dowdle, I don't really believe in. Deuce Vaughn. They got Royce Freeman from LA, so that's not the best running back room where I think even a day 3 guy that, hey, get a day 3 guy that has a trump card that you like, whether that's maybe a little bit of power or a bit of explosiveness on day 3, and then automatically I think that guy would get carries year 1.
I don't understand it. 1 bit. 0. It makes absolutely no sense, to be honest with you. I mean, if your goal is to win playoff games and get to the NFC title game for the first time in nearly 30 years and then eventually the Super Bowl, you're going to have to run the ball at some point. At some point. And why? They're going to bring Zeke back? Great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Sounds great. Give me those 3.5 yards per carry. I can't wait. It's inexcusable to me. It really is. And as far as what the Raiders are doing, They obviously do not have a quarterback plan. They just don't. You can't tell me that you've got a quarterback plan. If your quarterback plan is to draft as many good players and then we'll drop the quarterback in, that's not a quarterback plan. It's not.
Well, the plan could be to not take a bad quarterback. And, I mean, 6 went right before they picked in the first round. Mm-hmm. Which makes me think that they probably would have went quarterback if Penik fell. But the Falcons decided that they had to do that.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm a little bit more shocked that maybe they didn't go receiver earlier too.
They kind of did with Brock Bowers.
No, I'm sorry. I'm back on the Cowboys now.
Oh, okay.
I'm back on the Cowboys now because they're running out Jalen Tolbert as a starting outside receiver right now, who I liked coming out of college, but it's been a few years now, and I think he's had opportunities in the past to, all right, this is possibly a Jalen Tolbert time to kind of step up to the plate and play. There's been times where Jalen Tolbert's been a healthy scratch from the Dallas Cowboys over the last couple of years.
Doesn't it feel like Dallas is taking a gap year?
I mean, how pissed off are you right now if you're Dak Prescott?
Very.
Pissed.
I mean, they haven't made any real investments to help him, and they're just like, yeah, we're not negotiating with you until if we do, it's going to be after the season.
So this could fall entirely on him then, him and McCarthy at the end of the year.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it feels like a gap year for them, where they're like, you know what, we may want to get off McCarthy, but we don't want to get off McCarthy and then get off. Like, let's just ride this out one more year and see what happens.
You think 80-year-old Jerry Jones is using the term gap year?
No, that's the crazy thing. I don't think they know what they want, and that's the issue.
You had one 80-year-old owner in Arthur Blank who wanted a succession plan after paying a quarterback $100 million guaranteed, and you've got another one who wouldn't pay anybody in the offseason. Do we have to treat NFL owners now like older drivers, where you have to go get your license renewed every year just to make sure it's safe to be on the road? Is that where we're headed?
I think we need to treat Dave Tepper like that.
Oh, come on now.
So you mentioned even Arthur Blank too. Do you think, back on Michael Penix, do you think that Arthur Blank really gave the go-ahead to do that? It looked like in the draft room, and I'm a big conspiracy. Like, I love when the cameras.
Not what you're thinking.
I love when the cameras go in the draft room and they look at the interaction between people. What do you think about that, Chris?
It's not what you're thinking. That's all I can tell you, is that it's not what you're thinking.
That the GM had to explain to the owner what just happened and what he did? Mm-hmm. Okay. It looks like that.
Sure does. It's great.
I love conspiracy theories.
Yep. They're wonderful. You can go ask that Jets quarterback how fun they are.
All right. I don't know if I want to go that far.
Those aren't fun. Those are serious.
I don't want to go that far.
All right, boys.
We did it.
So still ahead, I guess we're going to break down where divisions are and stuff moving forward. What do you think?
Yeah, I would love to go division, because I would love to talk about every single team. And if I were listening to the show and we didn't talk about my team, I'd be frustrated. So, but I definitely want to go talk about every team. So we should go division by division.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So that's what we'll start doing, I think, at the end of the week. And, you're going to have guys start showing up for mini camps, and it's going to be fun.
Rookie camp is a great time, having all the rookie camp rookie camp invites. Then you get the veteran tryouts. Kelvin Benjamin is out trying. John Ross is going to go try out for the Eagles.
Yes, saw that.
Rookie minicamp is a great time.
I would like to see what the Bengals got as a draft grade when he came out as a top 10 pick.
I feel like we knew.
A-.
Can I get in John Ross?
All right, boys. This is always fun. And special shout out to producer Mikey for putting it together on short notice. Always does a great job. Continue to listen to the Talking Giants dudes as well, of Skinner and Penik, not to be confused with Penix. I am Chris Rose. We will see you at the end of the week on Friday here on Football Today.